Let's bring up this Sakurai video because, funny enough, this Sakurai thing is hilarious. I watched this video on my phone, right? And I wasn't paying the most attention to it. But Sakurai, once again, has been making incredibly invaluable YouTube content over the past, few weeks to months. And he has been essentially doing guides and tutorials on how game development sort of works, and a lot of like wonderful things that go into the beating minds behind what makes some of the best games ever and why they're great. He made one yesterday about Smash Brothers, right? And I remember watching it and not feeling any specific way about any specific part of the video, right? Just being like, that was a cute video. But apparently, like, a bunch of it was relatively controversial to Smash community, to fighting game community, and all of this stuff, where it's caused a relative like explosion of memery and scrub quotes and all this ridiculous stuff. And I'm going to go back and I'm going to actively pay attention to see like what people might be getting upset about, what people might be like construing from his message, because to me it seemed like just a relative behind the scenes take on how Smash Brothers was made that was like relatively obvious. So no spoilers, right? Let's bring up the video. Let's watch this latest Sakurai video, and I want to watch it with eyes specifically unclouded by hate, like actually, and maybe I'll watch it when I'm, not half asleep, so we can pull a message from this that might make some sense. I don't know, but apparently something in this is lighting a fire to everybody. Where's my audio? There it is.
Nintendo 64の時代がやってきます。
Smash was 99? Really? Jeez. Smash Brothers came out the same year that Dreamcast games came out.
当時はシリコングラフィックスのマシンでソフトイマージを動かし、モデル、モーション、カメラ、レンダリングなどを覚えていきました。スーパーデラックスの開発でも少しは、CG ソフトに触れてはいましたが、絵だけ、それも他のアーティストが作るものでした。
Pretty much, yeah. That's the same stuff that KI was made on. Same stuff that Donkey Kong Country, SGI machines. God bless Kevin Bayless for making those games possible.
対戦型バトルロイヤル格闘、スマブラの原型です。
Damn, it's just Smash Brothers. How funny.
一つは監視カメラをハックして済むラジコンロボットアドベンチャー。
Whoa, that's some wonky stuff. RC robot adventure game. So they were doing one or the other. Okay. Iwata handled the house. What a sweetheart. I forgot about this story, that Iwata just stepped in and just helped out. That's what I loved about. That's what makes Iwata so special, is that he was a developer, Most of these executives and companies are from like, dishwasher brands and pizza companies. Sorry, Reggie.
必殺技と回避、アイテムなどはまだありませんが、ゲームのルールはまんまスマブラであることがわかると思います。
I like the Windows 98 backgrounds.
シールド、ダッシュ。
Yeah, things are in here.
方向の空中攻撃などもあります。
Five-way aerials. Yeah, neutral included, yeah.
変えることもできますが。
Damn, that camera gets up there, Grill. Yeah, get him, yeah. Sorry. ラジコンアドベンチャーの試作、どちらも任天堂の方には高く評価されました。そして機械を待ちました。機械を待つというのはですね、会社のいろんなスタッフはすでに別のソフトを作っていました。つまりスタッフがいないと。 発表された中では 64DD のマザー3やゲームキューブ版とは関係ないスノボ風のエアライドもありました。他いくつかのソフトが作られていましたが発表されていません。Wow. それらが発売されなくなったことにより可及的速やかにソフトを仕上げる必要がありました。ラジコンアドベンチャーの方もかなりの手応えを感じていたのですが、まともに作ったら2年かかるであろうと思いました。 それでより早く完成できそうな4人対戦。 That RC game sounds a lot like Hardcore? What the heck is the game called? The Rare game?
格闘ゲームのアンチテーゼとはよく言われるし、実際私もそう言っていますが、
Chibi Robo, oh,
格
that's
闘ゲー
true.
ムを否定しているわけではないのです。
Blastcore, thank you. Did I say hardcore? Yeah, Blastcore.
何しろ駆け引きは最大に発揮されるジャンルでしたし、
Okay.
多くのメーカーが切磋琢磨されていたわけで、白熱していたのもうなずけます。
Right.
ただコンボについて、
Okay.
これは駆け引きではないと思っていました。最初のヒットから
Gameplay revolves around how you string together attacks after the first hit, rendering your opponent's skill level irrelevant. As more fighting games became combo focused, the less room there was for strategy. If you don't know the combos or were new to the game, you'd likely end up staring at the screen while you got beaten up. Instead of inputs alone determining the outcome, I wonder if we can make a game with more room for interplay and improvisation. So it's 1999, right? And I'm trying to figure out, what games is he talking about? What games around this time frame have like TODs and stuff? Marvel 2 is not even out yet. Marvel 1 has short combos. Like MVC, X-Men vs. Street Fighter, like traditionally these games outside of bugs, like are mostly button super. Tekken, I mean, I don't know if you remember, chat, but like Tekken 3's juggle system doesn't go very far, right? You mostly juggle them a couple of times in the air and then they get knocked down and then you go for Oki. Street Fighter 3, absolutely not. Maybe Alpha 3? That'd be pretty like on the nose. To me, like there's one game that is fairly obvious in this situation, and it's like Killer Instinct. Maybe Killer Instinct and Mortal Kombat's had really long combos. I couldn't tell you if V is, I mean, I honestly, I'm not going to act like I would. I couldn't tell you if V-ism stuff was discovered by like mid 1999 when Alpha 3 came out. I don't know, man. However, there definitely was custom combo stuff from Alpha 2, which was relatively long combos. None of the fighting games that were out around this time frame get anywhere close to the length of combos that exist in a post Street Fighter 4 world. Like combos in old fighting games are like button super. Combos in most fighting games were like a minor extension and that's about it. Maybe some KOF games, for example. Like the majority of all of them, the combos by comparison to nowadays are hilariously short. Everyone asks when they play all the old fighting games, like, where are the combos? And I'm like, that's it, dude. Low forward super, have fun. What do you want? JoJo, that was a bit later too. I don't know if you got to realize the JoJo Capcom arcade game might have been like right around this time frame. Yeah, this is 1999. So I'm a little curious about that, right? I'm a little curious. Maybe this comes from because Sakurai was obviously a really big. This is where the controversy is. 100%. This is what everyone's already talking about. I can already see that. Yes, there was absolutely an eccentric, a direct comparison of previous fighting games once combos were added to add more combos, right? I remember speaking from a mid-90s perspective that if games didn't have air combos, I didn't give a shit. I want air combos, right? After that KI stuff, KI was cool. You got ground combos and stuff, but around like the mid to late 90s, yes. Unless you got an air combo, you're not going to get me to play that game. I want air combos, man. Air combos are dope. I definitely think he's right from a perspective, but I think this is an interesting translation. Hold on a second. Yeah, this almost like this situation almost reminds me of like a Dragon Ball or a Marvel vs. Capcom 3 situation where you touch your opponent and they die. And I guess it's more of a perspective to like even the playing field. This phrase was the controversial one. I can see why. I can immediately. Yeah, he has to be talking about KOF, right? He has to be talking about like KOF 97, maybe KOF 98, where some characters are just like, you know, obviously are crazy combo overpowered. And I've seen some nutty stuff in those games and I'm not like great at them, but I'm sure this is coming from a KOF perspective. Let's continue. X-Men vs. Street Fighter. Dude, in the first like couple years X-Men vs. Street Fighter was out, very few people were exposed to people doing corner infinites. Like, you have to understand that. Like, this is not the crazy information age. These games were designed for you to do like button into super. That's your big long combo. Did great damage. It took off half your life, but you know, was KI popular in Japan? KI won? No, definitely not. Neither was the Versus series.
わからない人や初心者に
If you didn't know the combos or were new to the game, you'd likely end up just staring at the screen while you got beaten up. What's funny about this is how is Smash any different already? Smash Brothers doesn't have any combos? How is Smash any different? Items? DI? I mean, I'm pretty sure I've watched a relative small amount of Smash 64 competitive, and you get touched and a lot of the times you fucking die. I mean, I feel like it's never the intention of developers to create games that just have combos that kill you. It's never the intention, but players will find a way, you know? Let's go on. Instead of inputs alone determining the outcome, I wonder if we could make a game with more room for interplay and improvisation. Right. So that's where the percentage comes in, yeah. That's how accumulated damage came to be. That makes sense because, yeah, at this point, you have to essentially, you have to make like compromises to how you play, which was smart. I actually thought this was a really good idea. It's almost like you can have a combo for something at like a high percentage or potentially a low percentage. It just depends on the situation, right? This all sets up for like situational combos instead of like hard-coded things that work no matter what. Like you land this hit, you just get it no matter what. Like, no, you have to know I'm at 50%. This only works at 50%. I'm at like lower percentage. This only works at this lower percentage, right? It feels like this is a way to devalue combos, but they still exist, right? It's not like they're going away, you know? It's not like this got rid of combos. I mean, I've seen plenty of Smash videos. I mean, we've all seen Smash 4 played where Bayonetta literally one touches you and you fucking die. It's not like they intend for this. They intend for combos to happen. Combos are going to happen. And even old devs didn't intend for you to die from one combo. Players figure out a way to break your game, you know? Let's see what else he says. Yeah, your opponent reacts differently. You get knocked off screen. You lose no matter how much damage you've taken, right? I thought I might be onto something here. And he's right. At a core understanding, he's right. Like this is in the exact same way Marvel versus Capcom 3 came up with a system to prevent people from infiniting you, right? Marvel 3 was like, hey, you know what? We have this hit stun decay system. Relatively new, kind of fashioned in a way that should make sense. You know, people aren't going to be able. We have a system that's going to cover infinites. That worked out pretty well. Back in 1996.
格闘ゲームのコマンド入力がやたらと複雑化していた時でもありました。中にはすんごいコマンド入力もあります。そこでパッドの方向プラスボタンで
It's funny. It's funny how the comparative was to give people a chance that like you never got a chance to play the game. In Smash, as an outsider to Smash competitive, right? I'd say Smash is so you get knocked off the stage even at a low percentage in Smash against somebody that knows how to like cover knows how to like edge guard relatively well. I'm just dead, right? I don't get to recover. I don't get to play the game. To me, it's like just as bad. That's practically a combo, you know? Like I can barely play. I'm just gonna get knocked off, right? So to me, that's like already a thing. And just from like from the perspective of a fighting game player, when you get knocked off the edge, I suddenly just don't get to play. You know? I don't know. That's just my very like layman's perspective, where it's going to take me a hell of a long time to learn how to recover correctly. And he's absolutely right. Yeah, Smash is ridiculously intuitive.
という概念が生まれています。素早く倒すとより強く攻撃したりジャンプできるという。64でアナログスティックが実装される際できることを考えた結果です。
This is where tilts come in.
無段階の方向、無段階の深度に目が行きがちですが、私は入力が完成する時間に目をつけました。
Yeah. I think the general understanding from developers when they talk about this stuff, because Sakurai's not wrong. Like, let's just be honest. Like, he's not really wrong. I think it comes from the perspective of somebody that was playing games relatively competitively, because the more we understand about Sakurai's history is that he was kind of a competitive player, right? And he would watch people just get fucking massacred in Japanese arcades by salarymen that literally go to work, go to the arcade, go to work, go to the arcade, smoke a hell of a lot of cigarettes, and then repeat that process for, you know, the next 30 years. He was a part of that. So he was like, okay, there's an issue here, right? We should create something that essentially throws a pickle in the mold that is going to create something that doesn't rely on the same like legacy skill. That's something that is going to essentially be a new way of having to kill people. Pickle. And he's right. He's absolutely right. Nothing that he's saying is generally wrong. I'm trying to get from his perspective, like what he's talking about, of like, you get touched by a game, get comboed to death. And I'm like, maybe super turbo? I don't know. Maybe like a cross up an ST that leads to stun, that leads to next hit, leads to death, I guess. This more comes across as like breaking the mold of a fighting game. And that's what Smash Brothers absolutely does, you know? Smash Brothers more redefines what a fighting game can be. And I mean, let's just be honest. The only reason you would think Smash Brothers isn't a fighting game is because you have this inherent need to justify the thing you're good at is better and takes more skill than what other people play and what they're good at. Let's just be honest, right? Let's be honest with yourself, right? Let's do a little bit of deeper interpretation. We've all been there, chat. At one point, we've all been there. Granted, we're about to see it happen all over again. We're about to literally, I'm not new to this shit. It's been happening since, like, I've been joining in the proper FGC since the early 2000s, that whenever a new game comes out, my game that I played takes way more skill. New game is for babies. All the skill is gone. So I'm going to go back to my old game because this is the game that has skill. And then, you know, a next game comes out but now it's the next game that actually had the skill, but the new game is for babies. But then the next game comes out and it's the same shit. It's going to happen once again for Street Fighter 6. Everyone's going to complain out the wazoo that Street Fighter 5 is the game for players that love this. Like, it's the same shit with Guilty Gear. Like, I told you this before Guilty Gear Strive came out, that this was going to be the case when this game happened. Every single game is like this. This isn't new. This isn't just fighting games either. This is everything. So to once again categorically put something as not a fighting game because I'm not good at it, I remember being there, right? I remember talking shit about Smash out the wazoo, even though I played it, that it wasn't nearly as good as Third Strike. It did not have as much executional importance as a game like CVS2 or Marvel 2. It's for babies. It's fun. I'll say it's fun, but it's for babies, right? I remember feeling that way 20 years ago when I was a stupid kid. So, I mean, I get it. I was there too. All I'm saying is that you are a stupid kid, right? And just accept that. There's nothing wrong with being a stupid kid. That's fine. But just know that your opinion is going to change, right? Eventually, you're going to feel a different way about this because at this point, you are a stupid kid. Moving on. Whoa, did we just, was that the Saturn game? Hold on a second. Was that Dungeon Axe, Golden Axe, the Duel? Oh my God. We've played this. This guy is an asshole in this game. Yeah, Death Adder. I never played Zero Divide 2. This looks like a Star Fox fighting game. We played Twin Goddesses. What the hell are these games? Destrega. We played Destrega and Battle. Wow. They're playing video games, man. What? Okay, I need to see what Sakurai is saying here because this is some weird shit. Okay, what I missed out on the topic of the last like couple seconds because we're getting on about like, you know, fighting games, stuff like that. And when you look at Smash Brothers, you can't help but think of its large roster of Nintendo characters. Right, I mean, that's what sold it. I mean, let's be honest, if this game came out as Dragon King, it probably wouldn't have been as successful. Something we negotiated for later. One common struggle found in console-based fighting games is the sudden abundance of potential main characters. Yeah. Weird roster. Think about Zelda. You have Link. Plenty of side characters and adversaries, right? There's a horse. Play as the horse. From a publicity standpoint, let's say you start with one main character and expand from there, right? Right? But with fighting games, you might suddenly have 8 or 12 main characters right out the gate, and nobody knows who they like. Yeah? I mean, yes, we've said this several times that characters make fighting games, which is why it's hard to make a successful fighting game that isn't based on legacy. It happens very infrequently. I think the last, like, big one was maybe, I don't know, like Skullgirls off the top of my head has found success. 12 new faces who just showed up out of nowhere. Yeah, it's hard to get attached to any of them. And it's not easy to make someone care about them. In an arcade setting, you can just sit down and start playing the game and watch someone else play, which presents its own solution. At the very least, if you root for someone playing a character. I think he's talking about, I think this perspective is from when they were designing Smash Brothers 1999, right? Because nowadays, this arcade mentality literally exists right now. I mean, you are literally experiencing it right now, chat. you are experiencing it at the moment when you watch somebody like myself stream fighting games. And I want to throw players into a roster full of characters nobody had ever seen. Smart. That's challenging, especially if you have an option to do otherwise. We convinced Nintendo to let us borrow their most popular characters. Well, that helped. Right? I don't think even a Smash fan would show up and tell you that, yeah, that Dragon King game looks sick. If they just had, like, Jeet Kune Do versus Kung Fu, you know, they're just essentially fighting styles, fighting each other. Granted, this is 1999. You're about to get a game that looks like this? Potentially, right? This is early. I get it. It's early. However, this is Virtua Fighter 2 has already been out for 3 years, and Tekken 3 has already been out for a year to a year and a half. You know? Like, the N64 never really had any good-looking 3D fighting games. It just never did. Smash, even arguably, Smash 64 looks pretty rough. Like, even considering the time frame, the PS1 was pumping out Tekken fucking 3. Like, I mean, all things considered, Tekken 3 and VF2 exist. And then, yes, MK4 showed up. The first attempt at that developer to do 3D. And I don't blame him for it, but you're not going to argue with me that that game looks amazing. You're not going to argue with me on that shit. I'm sorry. There's no argument to be had here. Moving on. First impression they gave would plague us right to the very end. Yeah, we don't want you to beat up Pikachu. We finally finished opinion within Nintendo was split. Some people like it. I bet you the marketing hates it. Sales team, I know it. How'd I know? Flat out rejected the idea of having Nintendo characters beat each other up. You can't beat up Pikachu. Can't beat up Pikachu. Thought that was before they played it. We struggled to reach people who had already had the idea of traditional fighting games in their head. For sure. Right, but I mean, and this is, the strategies were completely different and it was hard to break preconceptions. He's absolutely right, right? Well, what 3D fighting games were and what 2D fighting games were around this time frame were doing nothing but copying each other. You know, this is why Sakurai is actually an innovator. This is why he had his spot at Nintendo is genuinely great, because he was trying to do something different, which is good. He was trying to, like, change things. I mean, all things considered, you could still have been in the era where people were playing Street Fighter 2 and Mortal Kombat, and all of a sudden 3D fighting game showed up, and you're like, what's this bitch-ass 3D fighting game? This isn't a real fighting game. This Virtua Fighter shit, this Tekken shit, that's not a real fighting game. Real fighting games are on Street Fighter. I guarantee you that conversation was absolutely a thing that happened in arcades even back before I was even aware of this shit. I can guarantee you, new thing, different, not as good as existing thing, be better, you know? Few solutions, including the Smash Brothers Dojo. I remember this! Wait a minute, was that a website? An official website created by Sakurai himself, packed with Smash techniques and strategies. I remember this. Oh my god. I just got, like, mad flashbacks. Holy... There was, like, yeah, an ancient fucking, like, website that he used to like own and operate outside of Japan time, you know? I guess it is Japan time site too, right? In the end, the game received positive reactions after releasing, gradually gaining popularity, of course. So it turned out all right, even better than that. Truly grateful for all of you who stood by us, yeah. And I mean, to be honest, Sakurai's an innovator. Like, he truly was trying to create something that was going to break the mold of what a fighting game could be, you know? And what did it do? It spawned a complete different subgenre of fighting games. Now there's no longer 3D fighting games. There's no longer arena fighting games. There's no longer 2D fighting games. There's no longer like any of that kind of stuff. He created the platform fighter, you know? And it is what it is. Like, here we are. And now it's an entire giant subgenre. First game to use voice actors for certain characters like Kirby. I remember Kirby not having a voice before this shit. And you know what? I was going to say this as well. And I started noticing it when I was playing Guilty Gear Xrd last night, right? I notice it when I play games like Marvel vs. Capcom, Killer Instinct, these games that allow for enough subsystems to exist on each other where you're going to practice in games like Smash, in any of those games I mentioned, and many others, you're going to practice in any of these games one specific moment, right? A really specific moment. Something that would be like truly spectacular. We watched it happen last night in a Guilty Gear Xrd video, right? Something that was a crazy amount of risk meter, triple stun sort of combo, like absolute insane shit. How often do you think you're ever going to see that stuff happen? Very infrequently. That player practiced a ton for this 1 out of like 200 match kind of moment. And that's incredible. That's actually cool that these fighting games, or some fighting games, allow for that, because a lot of fighting games that have existed in a while almost don't even give you that level of like options, right? A lot of fighting games are built with their systems so tight that coming up with that stuff and having that very specific moment exist is kind of hard. So to the point where you watch somebody training a combo in Marvel 3 that's super impractical and crazy, you get the Marlin Pie Doom combo that isn't optimal or anything crazy, but holy shit, never seen that before. What the hell is that? That's what makes, honestly, that's the stuff that, in my opinion, that makes fighting games great. And you know what fighting game has that? Almost every single one of them? This one. The one you're looking at right here. Smash Brothers is all about that shit. All about what percentage am I at? What part of the screen are they at? From what here are they here? Can I get an edged guard over here? Can I do this there? Like, oh, did they hit the ground here? Did they hit the ground? Like, all Smash Brothers is nothing but that shit of just essentially coming up with different compromises and what's it called? Whose line is it anyway? What's the term? Not dynamic. What's the term? Improvisation. Thank you. It's all about like improvisation on the moment to come up with something that will hopefully work. And I practice this, you know? Oh God, I'm here. I practice this. That stuff is what makes Smash Brothers great. It's that all the time. And you know what usually fighting games have that kind of stuff? Fighting games that have a lot of decision making, right? And there's a ton of decision making in Smash. It's ridiculous. You constantly are having to make all these decisions and all this awareness of all this crazy bullshit that's going on. And yeah, Sakurai had a pretty good idea because of the percentage stuff and having multifaceted levels and off stage, on stage, all this shit. You do get a lot less of that past Melee. True, but already, like, Melee was a game where its systems and subsystems weren't even designed for that shit, right? You got to realize people broke that game open. People cracked that thing open like a walnut, right? So players created their own subsystems. But even today, considering the latest Smash Brothers, right? Even when they tried to tone it back, there still was a ton, you know? There still is an absolute ton it takes to individual character mechanics on top of all the things you have to accommodate in a game like Smash. It's a lot. And to be honest, it's daunting to me where already I have an issue with like a GameCube controller and I'm like, fucking stupid fingers. God damn it. Piece of shit. You know, like I'm already having issues on that part. And then I have to start thinking about all this other shit.
1でガチガチに遊んでも良いと。好きなところだけ好きなように遊ぶという方針は初代にしてある程度確立できていると思います。
And he's playing when you want, how you want. Yeah, it's pretty much how you can change the rules, right? That there is no rules. You don't have to play a specific way. Like Smash Brothers allows you to like customize and do whatever the hell you want. Have fun. We don't care if you want this to be your competitive standard. Have fun. And I think that's actually a thing that most fighting games should take from Smash.
遊ぶという方針は
Allow people to just have fun with the game, because if you have fun with the game, you'll fall in love with some part of it, and you'll like some part of it, and you'll eventually get good at it. You'll eventually get to the point where you're actually, you know, a competent player because you fell in love with a part of it. You fell in love with a character or something, you know?
である程度確立できていると思います。はい、というわけで
This is a good topic. Yeah, but I get it. So the big one is right here. I think this is it. A lot of fighting games become more combo focused the less room there was for strategy. I feel like that's almost a translation error, right? Because it doesn't sound, to me, that sounds off. Like that specific line feels like some meme shit, right? This is some scrub quotes shit that they would like quote. This feels like this specific line of dialogue comes across as a little off. Because once again, saying that there's like less room there was for strategy because combos are hard or because I'm getting hit by combos. The weirdest part about this is that that's just Smash Brothers, right? The weirdest part about this analysis is that Smash Brothers isn't a void of this. It's like saying Smash Brothers doesn't have combos. It does. It 100% does. It doesn't have like situational combos. It's like saying that like Smash is unique. It doesn't have those combos. Like what it does. It absolutely does. It's had them since the very beginning, you know? I can see how this quote, I can see exactly where Sakurai is like coming from with this design perspective, because he's right. Like fighting games ever since the beginning, right? Ever since the very beginning have always been combo focused, and Smash is no different. Smash is absolutely, to say that Smash isn't a combo game, bitch, get out of here. Like absolutely, you get fucking thrown around by combos and shit. So it wasn't designed for long combos, it just happened. Fighting games, just like I said earlier, Ultimate Marvel 3 was designed to have a combo limiter, right? You're going to decay. The combo is going to eventually drop out. You're not going to be able to have as long combos. We're essentially dictating how long this shit can be. The players just break it open.